back to the next in our series of the UE5 factory building. Well, excuse my voice, a bit husky this morning. Been a long week at work. So I apologise, this is such a long wait for coming for this next episode, but like I say, I work in the week, so I'll try and get as much spare time as I can to record these and try and blitz a load at once, but it's the editing as well that takes a bit of time. But anyway, let's get on with it. We were in the middle of our builder tool. So what I'm going to do is, let's delete these because we don't need these right now. They're just in the way. And as you remember, we was making this new tool, and it was basically, let's just run this, and we hooked it up to number 2, and we're basically drawing a trace straight into the ground, nowhere else, and 1,000 meters in front of us. Okay, so to continue where we left off, inside the builder tool, what do we need to do? Now what we want to do is, once the tool is initialized, we want to create an object. Now this object we only want visible whilst we're aiming the tool and it's hitting a trace. If it's not hitting something, we don't want it visible. But even though Unreal's got very good garbage collection on objects that, you know, are spawned, then despawned, and then spawned, and then despawned, it can get a little bit messy if you keep doing that quite a lot, especially if someone's shaking their mouse around, you know, just being a little bit silly. So what I was thinking was, rather than just spawn and despawn the object, we could spawn it and just hide and show it as and when it hits a trace. And we can keep track of that using a boolean, so we know that it's in a placeable position. So also we touched upon the fact that we're going to use a grid system. We'll do that later on, hopefully in this episode. If we can get this one pretty much nailed, then we'll look at the grid system, because I have got something prepared for that. So we'll get onto that hopefully in the second half of this video. So where do we start? Right, we've already got our trace by using this trace build position, yeah, and we know if it gets a valid hit or not. What we're going to do, just for now, we're going to just spawn an actor, and we're going to place that actor at the exact position of the trace. Now we haven't got a way of selecting what items we're going to use to build from. Obviously that's going to entail some sort of blueprint system, as in blueprint inside the game rather than blueprint inside Unreal, where we need to figure out what buildings we're allowed to build and a way of selecting them in some sort of menu, or maybe using the scroll wheel on the mouse, or something like that. So to do so, for now, to test this out, we're just going to spawn an object and immediately make it invisible as soon as this tool is activated. And we'll probably do that as probably the first object you could build that's in your inventory, or the last object you can build in your inventory once we've got that sort of sorted out. But for now, what we're going to have to do is going to have to use our handy little generator, because that's our one and only main objects that we can build. And as I say, we're going to use a grid system eventually, but not all things can be made on the grid system as such, i.e. lamps. Very small. They're going to use, well, they might use a grid system, but a much smaller one. This is why at some point you're going to have some sort of discipline on when you create your models and blueprint objects for your buildings and so forth. You're going to have to have a discipline for them to obey the grid system, and to obey the grid system, so that if you're, for instance, using a meter square grid, then you want to build your objects within meter squares. And I don't mean, you know, everything has to be a meter square in size, but they need to be, you know, 2 meters, 3 meters. There mustn't be like 1.5 meters. They can be in size, but the grid that they take up has got to be, you know, in whole meter units. But we'll touch on that a little bit later on. So we're going to spawn an actor, and we need to keep track of this actor. So we're going to create a variable.
I don't know that.
Alexa's getting involved again. So we need to say build actor. Okay, and we'll set that to type. Obviously, actor. Scroll down, actor, object reference. And we'll make it viewable in case we need to debug it. We don't need to expose it on spawn, because it's not really a spawned blueprint, is it? It's a blueprint, yeah, one of those. A blueprint component. So, tools activated. Okay. We only want to do this once, so we've got to have a lot of discipline here. So we need to use a get, a validated get, and do that. Right. So that's just to check if we've got an actor already. Actually, no, we're going to use that just to make sure. We're also going to show you this overrides. So what we want to do is we want to override our activate tool and deactivate tool. Okay, so let's do with activate tool first. Now, as you can see, activate tools there. We need to right click on the node, and we need to find add call to parent function. This is important because anything we put in the original base here, using those events, which we are, yeah, we need to make sure we call them first so that they still do what they're supposed to do. And basically that's change that flag so we know when the tool's on and off. So if we create them both while we're here, so it's functions override, and this one's deactivate tool, right click on the node, add call to parent, and just connect that up. So now it will always do this first, then whatever we trail on the end with. So when we activate the tool, we want to spawn actor from class. Okay, and we're gonna have to give it a transform, and we're also gonna have to do the collision. So at the moment, we're going to put ignore collisions because we don't know where it's going to be yet. We don't want it to collide anything. So for now, the only class that we've got really that's worth for doing this for is our generator base, BP underscore generator base, because we have no other buildings yet. The spawn transform, at the moment we'll just get player pawn and get player oh no, just get transform, actor transform, there we go. And for now we're just going to plug that in there. We're going to always spawn and ignore collisions. Next we want to come off and we want to we'll do it from here. If you drag off this node, we can actually do it from here. So set hidden, set actor hidden in game. Okay, so that hides it, and that's true. So we want to hide this, and at the same time we want to set disable collision. No, that's not the one. It's set actor enable collision. There we go. And we want to leave that as unticked because we want it disabled. So right now this will spawn an actor, it'll be hidden, and enable collision will be false, so there will be no collision. So what I'm going to do is sorry, need to tell it which one we're doing. So each time we need to come off this return value to tell it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to untick that so we can see if this is working. Yeah, so now we're going to show it as visible. So if I hit play and I press number 2, and all of a sudden it spawned our generator exactly where we were stood. But because collision's turned off, you know, we can go through anything, which is good because we can place it wherever we like at the moment. So now I'm going to do the same thing again and just retick that, hit compile and play, and 2. Now, as you can see in the top left hand corner, just here, we have got a generator because it's doing whatever it needs to do. But we can't see it because the actor's hidden in game. Okay, and that's what we want just to start with, so that it's not interfering with anything, because we only want it to show when it's in a valid position as far as the trace is concerned. Deactivate tool. This one's quite simple. When we deactivate tool, then we want to despawn this actor. So, oh, forgot a major important thing here. Let's copy, move these across, sorry, here. What we want to do is we want to set the output value of this to our build actor. Yeah, in there. So we'll bring that in there, and then we'll connect these up to there, and that's just so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Ooh, what's going on here? How's that going in there as well? That's unusual. You can't normally plug 2 things into a target actor. I think there's a bit of a bug there. So we can actually get rid of those, bring that back down, and that one. 2 things going to a target. That's very strange. Let's bring that one to there. So you have it coming out of your spawn, and you have it going into set your build actor and set it hidden and disable collision by unticking enable collision. Backwards, yes, I know. Okay. Now, oh, and just to say, make sure this is always ignore, so it won't, you know, cause any problems or shove you out the way or anything like that. But like our cable was doing, well, we'll retouch on that one at a later date, doing a similar sort of thing, I think. So, deactivate tool, simple as, we want to get our build actor, we want to get a validated get on it, so that we make sure there is something there, because we can't destroy an actor that isn't there. And all we need to do is drag off here and put destroy actor. That's it. So when we close the tool, it will disappear. Yeah, only if it's valid. If for some reason it becomes invalid somehow, then it won't do this because it's already gone. But it has to validate the object first. So let's test that working. We'll turn this hidden thing off again and hit play and activate the tool, and we've got our trace going, and there we go. Deactivate the tool, it's gone. Activate the tool, it's there. Deactivate the tool, it's gone. Simple. So now that's the spawn and despawn of the object done. Now we need to work on placing the actual object. Okay, so we don't need that there, do we? No, we don't need that in there because we've already spawned our actor. We was going to put it in the middle, but we're not no more. I'm going to disconnect this for a moment, as we don't need no debugging yet, and we'll bring that back across. Okay, so we have a valid location, yes or no. So if we don't, we're going to make sure the actor is hidden in game. So rather than keep doing a check, we're just going to automatically do it. Right? There's no point putting extra code in to say, is he on hidden, hide him. Yeah, just hide him. If he already is, it makes no difference. So we're going to hide, tick the box, our build actor. Okay, so if we've got no valid position, we're going to hide them. But then we want to do the same thing. I'm just trying to think, actually. We could actually sheet here and do a not coming off the valid, so we could save code. Let's see how that works. So if it's a valid hit, we don't want to be hidden, so it's a not, isn't it? So if we just put in here a not type boolean, and you will get not boolean, and what it does, it changes that from true to no to false and false to true, whichever way it is. So if we bring that in there, we probably don't even need this, but just in case I want to do anything else on the false tree, I'm going to leave that there for the time being. So we'll just connect it up like that. So now let's see what happens when we hit play. So hit 2, and there we go, and it disappears when we've got no trace hit, and reappears when we got a trace hit, and disappears when we you see that's not getting a hit because it's too far away. And then there, see, we've now got an object that appears on the trace hit. Oops, I keep doing that all the time, I don't know why I do it. So as we've got this variable here, we can always use this later on. So yeah, let's get rid of this branch, we don't need it. We're just coming to here, and we're going to choose the visibility based on whether we get a valid hit or not. Yeah, and we invert it so that it sets this hidden value to the opposite. So if it's a valid hit, we don't want it hidden, so we turn it not true, becomes false. If it's an invalid hit, it comes out false. Not false is true, which means yes, it's hidden. Hope you understand that. It's probably a little bit much to get your head around if you're not used to booleans, but if you are, it's quite straightforward, I guess. Now, all we've got to do now is in here, we forgot an important thing. We need to use our validated get. And the only reason is it shouldn't be invalidated because our code tells us it shouldn't be. But let's clean that up by using that direct. It's always best to make sure. Once you've made sure, then you can't get an error here when you're trying to access it, because you'll get a lot of access nons in your output log here. So in that, it would fill with access nons if the actor was invalid. It should be valid, because if we do our code correctly, there shouldn't ever be an error. But cover your backside. This get just helps that. I've got to use a get anyway to plug in as the target, so I might as well validate it while I'm at it. Yeah, you know, it can't really use many cycles just to do a validated get. So now we've got our object. What are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to put it exactly where we aim the trace right now. So our trace position is here. We've got a location. We now need to set the location of this object to the location of the trace. And that's simple enough. We just come off this build actor again, and we set actor location. Yep. Now rotation is going to be a different thing. So if we bring our location in for now, so all we're doing is setting the location of the actor. We'll compile that. Let's have a look how that works. So we come on, and then we go Build Tool. As you can see, it's now following the trace, and it'll disappear if we're not hitting the trace, and it'll be back if we do. So far so good. Now what we need to do is consider rotations. Now, to keep things simple in this, I'm going to be using only 90-degree rotations. Okay, so when the actor spawns, it will always be either 90, 0, 90, 180, 270. Yep. It can't be any other value. Okay, and we will add in some keys to control that. But yeah, I want the actor to always be rotated at one of those. So for now, we're going to press the wrong thing, we're going to delete that one and use set actor location and rotation. So there's the location. It's still the same actor, but this time the rotation is going to be zeroed. Okay, but now if we come in here, hit 2, and as you see, no matter how far we put it, it's staying at 0 rotation. Now that's 0 rotation around the z-axis, yeah, because the z-axis is the one that goes up into the sky, so that's the one it would rotate round to face in the right direction. So if I come back in here and I change this on the z-axis to 90, hit compile and hit number 2, it's now rotated 90 degrees. Okay, so this is why you need to get the orientation of your objects correct when you build them. Obviously this one was when we first made it, except for the fact that the connectors were at the back there, which is correct. The generator connector is always at the back. If there's going to be a screen, it will probably be at the front. Yeah, but you can choose where you want your screen. So how we had it just was exactly right. Okay, so how do we place this object? So we place this object by clicking, and it's quite simple what we're actually going to do. What we're actually going to do is we're going to bring through again our clicks. So if we override our action start and action end, yeah, so action start is what happens when we first click, action end is when we let go of the click. Okay, we could choose whichever one we want to do this on. We'll do it on action start. So as soon as we press it, it will do its action. So what we want to do is actually quite simple. If we click, we just want to relieve the build actor here and just leave it be. Okay, which means it just ends up staying in the world. So what we will do, as we need to reuse this portion here, I'm going to select these, hold control and select those, and I'm going to collapse to a function, and we're going to call this spawn new build. And then we don't even need to unset this here, because when we spawn a new build, it automatically sets it. So if we come in here, let's tidy it up a bit, it automatically sets the build actor because we respawn a new one, so we don't have to clear it. We're just replacing it with this new one. But what happens then, because we're not destroying the old one, we are in effect just releasing it into the world, and the tool is forgetting about it. It's just then placed in the world, and we'll show you that now, and we'll do that in action start. I totally forgot what I was doing. So it's actually pretty simple. All I need to do is do that. Okay, if I compile that, and off we go. So number 2, if I hit number 2 again, it's gone. Number 2, yep, and it doesn't spawn where I want it, and then click, and now look, we've placed it into the world. And now we've got another. Let's have another. But as you can see, we've got a problem because they're all overlapping. But they spawn. Simple. We've got a way of placing generators. And if you see I'm holding the mouse down, nothing's happening, I have to press it again for something to come down. So I can't accidentally like duplicate loads of them. Yeah, and then if I exit the tool, the last one still disappears because I haven't placed it. So now we have generators that do have collision. The collision is on. Yep, you see. Let's look at the tool builder. Let's just have a look at this collision thing here. maybe because it happens so quick. And we'll just break this link and see if it causes us any problems. It's still doing a collision, isn't it? Still allowing us. But as you can see, if you wanted to line things up now, oh, it's difficult, isn't it? You know, I've not done a bad job there, but you know, you could easily do that. You know. So, how do we fix that part of it? Let's just connect that back up. So that's where we need a grid system. Now, a grid system doesn't have to be any sort of object or anything like that. A lot of people go a bit over the top and complex on this. Now, you could have an array that stores object locations and well, every grid that's taken up by an actor. But to be honest, there is really no need, because what you could just use is each object you have will have its own collision box. So let's have a look again at our generator. Now, our generator isn't a meter square, yeah? So we could add in a, I think they call it box collision. Yeah, box collision. And is that it there? Yes, it is. And we could set its scale. Now, it's not parented to anything, is it? Let's bring it up to there. Okay. It's smack bang in the middle. So it's tiny, pretty tiny. So it's smack bang in the middle on all axes, yeah? I think. Double check. Yeah, it is. So let's scale this up and see what happens. See, it's not actually shown, is it? Oh, it is. It's just not quite come out of it yet. So this is where it can get a little bit complicated, though. It's getting the size of your collisions right. It looks like it's basing it based on this. We don't want it based on that. Now let's have a look at our builder tool. Our builder tool, and we will spawn one. And as you can see, this is what, roughly 75 units. Just a rough guess. See, let's have a look at the scale of this. Yeah, 75. 75 wide and 1.5 long. So we want this box to match that. Now this is very strange. If I put this to 0.75, it's way different, the scaling, so I'm not sure what the scaling works on it. So we'll set these to 1. Oh, let's undo the lock, sorry. 1, 1, 1. And then we've got our box extents. Now, I think this is in units, so we're going to try 100. 100. Okay. So that's 100 square. So it's not exactly conforming. It appears it's in half scale. Okay, so if it's in half scale, the exact size of it was 150, wasn't it? So we want it to 200. So 200 would be, now let's just check that. It seems a bit odd. Let's try the width first. Well, actually, we've done the width, haven't we? And that seems to fit. So is this in a percentage of its original size? So I want this as 133. 133. Should be 2 meters. And this will be, no, we've already got that. So we've got 50. Okay, and the height is, what kind of height did we have on this before? My height is 1 meter, isn't it? I've never actually dealt with this. I've never used a box collision before, so I've never dealt with the box extents. So that would be 50 for the same height. So let's just see. Appears that it looks level. Yeah, it appears that it looks level, but it does appear that it's quite large, the extents. So I want 150. Maybe divided by 2. Yeah, that's the full width. We actually just want that as a meter, don't we? 100. Yeah. So that then should be 2 meters. But we need to get the offset of this in the same place. So this would be negative 50. No, obviously not. And 75, not 50. No, that's wrong. It is 50. No, it's 25. There we go. That's a bit of a strange one to work out. I've never actually come across that before. So what this does is this will take up now, with this box, this collider, the collider itself is going to take up exactly 2 meters. So it's obviously half for some reason. 1 meter and 1 meter. Yep. And that's what we need to always check for when we're placing things. I wonder if we can show this in game. I don't think you can actually show it. Let's see if the hidden in game thing. Oh, okay. Let's do that. Let's see. Consider for active placement. We'll use that as well. Okay, let's see what happens. Yes, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. It looks like it's in line. Yep, and it should be exactly. There we go. Yeah, because obviously those lines of certain thickness, so that you got to account for those when you join them up. So there we go. That is a meter box. We can actually use that as help for placement. Right. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about grids. But as this is like over half an hour video anyway, we'll do that just in the next episode, but I'm going to release these both at the same time so you can watch it in the next episode. So we're going to talk about grids and grid placement, and all we're going to use to start with is a little bit of math, and I will talk you through the math involved, and hopefully we'll have something we can build set to a grid. So that said, we'll leave it there for this video. The second one will be up at roughly the same time. You know, it'll be a matter of, you know, half an hour to an hour, depending on the editing time. But it will be up the same day. So then you can jump straight from here into the next one, and we'll talk about the grid placement. So we'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, and bye-bye.